you have TikTok and you like basketball, you probably know Showtown Hoops.
Children of all ages, act like you know.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. You know, when you grow up around a guy and you see him as a player, you don't really get to appreciate him like that until he's gone. Because in the moment, you're recognizing how good he is and you're just enjoying it right now. And you see him grow up to be an awesome player and you're just in it. When in reality, like you're witnessing greatness. And that's essentially what went on with Dwyane Wade. I was in South Beach last night and yesterday afternoon, and I was able to appreciate how great this guy really was. You know, the Miami Heat weren't in existence that long when they got Dwyane Wade. You know, they were in year 15. They had been at the doorstep of a championship, but they just weren't good enough. You know, in the 90s, they ran into the Bulls a couple of times. They ran into the Knicks and, you know, they got turned away. And they had players who were championship caliber players, but just weren't that. You know, Alonzo Mourning, one of the best big men of all time. Tim Hardaway was a first-team All-League performer at the lead guard. That 97 team that went to the East Finals against the Bulls, that was probably their best shot. But up until then, they weren't really viable as a legit contender. Then they kind of faded away. Then you add in 2003, when that team just faded away, you add Dwyane Wade, who coming out of college, everybody knew him. He was fantastic. He was the two guard of the future. But nobody knew how good he could really be until he showed up on the Miami Heat scene. Now, I'm an advocate of guys who are the epitome of an organization. Like, you see a guy and you go, that's a New York Knick right there. That's a Laker right there. Jaime Jaquez is a prime example. When I see Jaime Jaquez, I just think that's a Miami Heat. Like, when I saw Dwyane Wade, he just looked like he embodied a Miami Heat player. He just looked like everything that the Miami Heat are. And when he got there, did I expect him to be as good as he was? No, I didn't. But did I think that he would be a damn good pro? I did. And yesterday afternoon, you know, immortalizing him for what he was, I just think that was fantastic. I mean, there was a stretch where he was in the conversation, not just in the conversation. It was a conversation of him being the best two guard in the game. He was in league MVP talks. That 2009 season was phenomenal, where he led the league in scoring. He was an all-league defender that year. He was just he was the class of the two guard spot. It was him and it was Brian and it was him. And he just became phenomenal. Now, I'm the type of guy who, whenever I talk about all-time greats, a part of my criteria is, you know, how do people talk about you when you're not around anymore? How? What do people think of you when you're not there? You know, O.J. Simpson is one of the worst human beings that I've ever laid eyes on. Not only did he kill his ex-wife, he killed her boyfriend too. However, I can't ignore the fact that he led the league in rushing for 4 straight years. I can't ignore that. I can't ignore the fact that he ran for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. I can separate the artist from the art. I can do that. But I care about how people talk about you when you're not around anymore. I do. I care about that. When you're talking about being an all-time great. Number 1, is your game timeless? 2, did you dominate? 3, did you win? 4, how transcendent is your game? And number 5, how impactful were you in society? And watching Udonis Haslem, watching Bam Adebayo, Pat Riley, his son, watching these people talk about him and listening to these people talk about him last night, it was just a breath of fresh air to find out what type of human Dwyane Wade is. What type of guy is he? And in addition to him being an awesome basketball player, he was a legit dude. And I mean, I care about stuff like that, and I think that's why he's in the pantheon of greats. That's one of the reasons why he's in the pantheon of greats, because his game speaks for itself. Again, injuries slowed him down for a portion of his career, but for a large portion of his career, he was one of the best players in the game. One of the best players in the game. He had multiple seasons where he was a top 5 player in the game. And when they put a statue outside the arena to immortalize you, what it says is, I was really that good. It validates how a guy feels. I was really that good. They really think that I was that good. And this shows it. I really was that good. And when you do stuff like that, when people see stuff like that about you, there's no way to not just be drowned in humility. Like, damn, I was all right. I was all right. This is awesome. I was all right. And Dwyane Wade was a class act. I mean, I can't speak enough about his game. He developed his jump shot. He was one of the best defenders in the league, one of the fiercest competitors in the league. The thing that I appreciated about him the most was the 2006 NBA Finals. Everybody talks about him averaging 36 a game and winning the Finals MVP. That's not what I marveled at. I marveled at him saying, we're not losing like this. If we're going to go down, because Dallas had dominated that series at that point. For two and a half games, Dallas had dominated that series. And Wade had made it clear in the second half of that third game, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down. Not like this, though. In his famous quote, I'm not going out like that. Not like this. Not like this. It's got to be something better than this. No. And he proved that. And that was a mark of his career, because that's who Dwyane Wade was. That's who absolutely Dwyane Wade was. And I can respect how awesome a guy is and recognize that he was just fantastic. He was just fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, the Boston Celtics, they look like they're on a mission early this season. You live by the long ball, you die by the long ball. Let's be clear about that. And the Celtics have already made it clear that this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to do. And you're just going to have to stop us. And there's no reason for them to switch it up, considering what they did last year. They won the NBA championship. They were number 1 in the league in attempts. They were the number 1 in the league in makes. They were number 1 in the league in percentage. This is who we are. And on top of that, us being an elite defense. An elite defense. And the way that the ball moves, not just the way that the ball moves, the band of guys that they have and the collection of guys that they have, it just makes them so much better. Jason Tatum looks like he's separating himself. A lot of you had me as just another good player. I'm fringe top 10. I might be a top 5 player. No, I'm not. I'm not just one of those guys. I'm not. And I'm going to prove that this season. I've never really been a big fan of guys who shoot the basketball at the long ball line primarily. But if it's a strength of yours and it works, stick to it. And that's the world we live in today. That's the world we live in today. And I have to accept that, the long ball is king. But he does other things in addition to that. He does defend. He's one of the better on-ball defenders at his position, and he's gotten better at that. Jaylen Brown, one of the best transition players. Drew Holiday, still to this day at 35 years old, still one of the better on-ball defenders in the league. And they still haven't gotten Kristaps Porzingis back. Once they get him back, they're going to be even better. Derek White, I'm hearing rumblings that he can make the All-Star team this year. So you're going to have 4 All-Stars. You're going to have 3 All-Stars on your team this year, which I think would be great. But I love everything about what the Celtics are doing. I love it. I love everything about what the Lakers are doing. I watched a segment with JJ Redick. He sat down and he spoke with Coach Stan Van Gundy. And it's not fluff, guys. It's not. It's not fluff. It's not a gimmick. It's not anything like that. JJ Redick knows the game. JJ Redick, I watched him break down X's and O's. JJ Redick knows the game. And I love that about him. JJ Redick knows what he's talking about. He looks like a guy who studies the game. He looks like a guy who understands players, both strengths and weaknesses. That's what you have to do as a coach. You have to do that as a coach if you're going to be successful in the NBA. You have to know how to manage guys. In addition to managing guys, you have to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. That's the only way you can manage them. That's why Phil Jackson was as good as he was. You can't rule with an iron fist. Nah, that's not the way the NBA works, because guys will tune you out. That's what happened to Darvin Ham last season. If you don't know what you're talking about, you will get turned off really quickly. It won't take long for guys to recognize that you don't know what you're doing. It won't take long at all for that to happen. So with that being said, I think JJ Redick knows what he's doing. He puts Anthony Davis more in the mid-range, which I really like. That opens up their offense. I really love the action between him and Austin Reeves. They got a connection, both him and both Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis, that I really like. That pick and dive, that pick and pop between those two. Now, it goes without saying that him and James, that Anthony Davis and James, the way that they work, I mean, it goes without saying they won an NBA championship. But I really like that action between him and Austin Reeves. They have a really good connection. And I listened to JJ Redick yesterday talk about Anthony Davis, how he's the anchor of their defense. Now, you might hear different terminologies, but I'm one of those people who like to simplify things. Anthony Davis was considered a backline defender. And when in reality, it was just, okay, you had your primary defender, you had your secondary defender, and Anthony Davis as your third defender coming over and blocking the shot. That's what it was. But I think the Lakers look good. I do. I think the Lakers look really good. I watched that Milwaukee Bucks game against Brooklyn. Break up the Brooklyn Nets. Break up the Brooklyn Nets. I thought Ben Simmons did a great job on Giannis Antetokounmpo last night. I do. I thought he did a good job in being physical with him, because this is who Giannis is, by the way. That's Giannis's game. Giannis is a physical guy. Giannis is a downhill guy. But what Giannis doesn't have that a lot of people probably have recognized, Giannis doesn't have a lot of counters. Giannis is one of those guys who, he gets ahead of steam. And once he gets ahead of steam, it's pretty difficult. Now, how do you slow that down? Well, you slow that down by keeping him off the ball. I thought Ben Simmons did a good job of, once Giannis got off the ball, not letting him get the ball back. I thought he did a good job at that. I thought he did a good job in being physical with Giannis. Milwaukee does not do a good job in guarding the long ball, and I think that that's going to be a problem. They did not shore up that problem in the offseason. Their starting small forward is in Phoenix. His name is Ryan Dunn. Them passing on him is going to be a mistake, a huge mistake, because, I think he was the best perimeter defender in the draft, and he would have been perfect for what they're doing. I'm on record saying that there are guys in the league who should be on other teams. The Knicks starting five-man is in Charlotte. His name's Mark Williams. That's the Knicks starting five-man. The Knicks passed on him. That was a mistake for them to do that. And the Milwaukee Bucks passing on Ryan Dunn, that was a mistake. 100% that was a mistake. Now, we all know that New York is a Knick town. I know that. And if anybody doesn't know that, I mean, you're in the minority. And it's like the Knicks and Brooklyn, it's like the Lakers and the Clippers. As good as the Clippers could ever be, they're never going to be the Lakers. And as good as Brooklyn is, they're never going to be the Knicks. But they do have a scoring machine in this kid, Cam Thomas. And if you're going to pay attention to scoring, to a guy scoring, tune into Brooklyn. Now, I know how you feel about a guy scoring a basketball off the strength that, you're on a bad team, so it's empty. But this kid, Cam Thomas, is a bucket getter. Let me tell you, he is a bucket getter. You might want to pay attention to him, man, because he is serious. 100% he is serious. And I will definitely be tuning into Brooklyn games, even though I think they're going to be bad, but I will be tuning into more Brooklyn games this season. So I really like what I saw yesterday. And the season just literally got started, but this is where you'll find me more. I kind of missed you guys, and I will get back to this. And this will be something regular, and I will see you guys soon. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. Well, last time you talk to your mother, call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man.
It's going down. It's going down.